The cadets trudged through the alien forest, the ground beneath their boots uneven and slippery with strange black moss. The sky above flickered with the dim glow of twin suns, casting jagged shadows between towering trees. Every rustle of leaves made them jump, every distant screech sent adrenaline spiking. They were here for training, yet the planet felt alive in ways they hadn't been prepared for. "Keep your eyes open," muttered Lieutenant Varn, his voice low but tense. "This terrain hides everything." The cadets moved as a tight formation, eyes scanning for movement. Then, without warning, a small figure appeared from the underbrush. At first it seemed harmless, no bigger than a dog. But its eyes glowed with a sharp, predatory light, and its low growl vibrated through the air like a warning drum. The cadets froze. What is that?" whispered Tessa, her hand trembling as she reached for her weapon. The cub stepped forward, its sleek black fur bristling. Its claws scraped the stone-like soil, leaving tiny gouges. Each step was deliberate, every movement precise. It bared tiny but sharp teeth, growling again, a sound that made the cadets' stomachs tighten. Hold your fire," Lieutenant Varn barked. His voice shook, betraying more unease than he intended. "Stay calm." But calm was impossible. Their training hadn't prepared them for an animal that stared at them with intelligence, not mindless aggression. The growl deepened, vibrating through the air. Cadets exchanged nervous glances, some stepping backward, others frozen entirely. Then came a sound that broke the tension: laughter. It was human, light and unafraid. Cadets turned to see Rylan, a young recruit, stepping forward casually. His boots crushed the moss without hesitation. He crouched slightly, tilting his head as he regarded the predator cub with curiosity rather than fear. "You're cute," Rylan said, voice gentle. "But you're far from home, huh?" The cub's growl didn't stop, but its ears twitched. It circled Rylan slowly, sniffing, testing. The cadet's hands gripped weapons tighter. "Rylan, step back," Varn shouted. "It's dangerous, don't provoke it." Rylan ignored him. "I'm not provoking," he said softly. "I'm trying to understand." A tense silence settled. The cub's eyes narrowed and then, astonishingly, it let out a small, curious whine. Rylan reached out, fingers hovering over the creature's fur. The cub didn't snap. It stepped closer. Cadets whispered among themselves, disbelief written across their faces. How is he not scared?" one murmured. "Because he's not acting scared," another replied, voice trembling. The cub tilted its head, sniffing the air around Rylan. Its growl became a rumble, like a rolling storm contained in a small body. Rylan laughed again, soft and confident. "You're braver than you look." Then the unexpected happened. The ground shuddered beneath their feet, and the trees rustled violently. Something moved in the distance, shapes bigger than the cub, moving with intent, almost like a hunting pack. The cadets tensed, ready to fire, panic overtaking their training. "Everyone hold," Rylan commanded, his voice calm but firm. The cub responded instantly, crouching slightly, body low and tense, ears flicking. It seemed to understand the warning. What just happened?" Tessa whispered, voice tight. "They're not alone," Varn said grimly. "Something is coming." The shadows shifted, and the cadets could make out faint outlines of larger predators, massive, elongated creatures with multiple limbs, glinting eyes, moving silently but deliberately. The cadets' hearts raced. Each step the creatures took seemed to press against the air itself. Rylan crouched lower, holding his hands out slowly. "It's okay. We don't need to fight, not yet." His voice carried a strange authority, a calm that seemed to ripple outward. The cub growled once, low and protective, moving in front of Rylan. It was small, but its posture said, "This human is mine." The larger predators halted, sniffing the air, observing. A tense moment passed, stretching seconds into eternity. The cadets could barely breathe, frozen by fear and awe. Then, almost imperceptibly, the pack moved away, disappearing into the forest without a sound. Rylan stood slowly, brushing dirt from his uniform. "They'll be back," he said, eyes scanning the shadows. "But not today." He looked at the cadets. "Now let's move. Quietly. Stay behind me." The cadets followed, still shaken, hearts pounding. Some whispered words of disbelief. How could a single human have such control, such courage? The cub trotted beside Rylan, glancing at him occasionally as if checking in. It was clear to everyone that the bond between them went beyond instinct. Something deeper, almost unexplainable. As the group disappeared into the twisting paths of the alien forest, the cadets realized one thing. fear was a choice and courage sometimes came in the form of laughter in the face of danger. And Rylan, human, fearless and strangely in tune with the predator cub, was unlike any recruit they had ever known. The twin suns dipped lower, painting the forest in red and gold. The growl of the cub echoed faintly, a warning, a promise and a beginning. The cadets moved carefully, stepping over gnarled roots and slick black moss. Every sound, the snap of a branch, the whisper of leaves, set nerves on edge. The forest seemed to watch them, shadows twisting unnaturally. The cub padded silently beside Rylan, ears flicking, eyes alert. It was small, but every movement suggested understanding beyond instinct. Tessa broke the silence. "It's like it knows what we're thinking." Her voice trembled. "I've never seen an animal react like this." Rylan glanced at her and smiled faintly. "It's paying attention not just to me but to all of us. Watch carefully." Ahead, the forest opened into a clearing dotted with strange, luminescent plants. The cadets froze as the cub crouched, tail twitching. It darted forward suddenly, circling them, sniffing the air. Then it stopped, ears pricked, and let out a sharp, deliberate bark-like sound. The cadets jumped. "What is it doing?" whispered Tessa. Rylan knelt slowly, holding his hand palm up. "It's telling us something. Listen." The cub repeated the sound, this time pointing its nose toward a dense thicket at the edge of the clearing. Tentatively, the cadets followed, unsure if this was a trap. As they approached, the thicket rustled violently, revealing a hidden pit, nearly invisible beneath the moss. Several cadets stumbled back, hearts racing. "You just saved us from falling," Varn said, eyes wide, gripping his rifle tightly. "How did it know?" Rylan shrugged, still calm. "It isn't just a predator. It's aware. It can sense danger in ways we can't yet." The cub growled softly, circling him as if affirming his words. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the forest, a mechanical whirring, low but rapid. Something was moving toward them, faster than they could see. Cadets froze again, scanning the clearing. "Robots," Varn muttered, his voice tight. "They patrol this sector." Rylan's eyes narrowed. "Stay calm. The cub will help." The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. "It's a small animal. How can it do anything against robots?" one cadet hissed. Before anyone could react further, the cub leaped toward a rock, landing lightly, then crouched again, tail flicking. The robots entered the clearing, sleek, spider-like machines with glowing sensors. They scanned, whirring, moving with deadly precision. The cadets instinctively raised their weapons, but Rylan stepped forward. "Don't fire," he said. "Let it guide us." The cub darted between trees, pausing for them to follow. Each motion was precise, almost intelligent. The cadets hesitated, but eventually obeyed, hearts pounding. The robots advanced, sensors locking onto heat signatures, but the cub led the group through hidden paths, ducking under branches, slipping through narrow gaps. The cadets barely kept up, panting, sweat running down their faces. "Unbelievable," Tessa whispered. "It's like it understands tactics, like it knows what we need to do to survive." Rylan didn't reply. He kept his focus on the path ahead, hand lightly resting on the cub's back as it guided them. The cub stopped abruptly at a fallen log, crouching low and growling. The cadets froze behind it. In the shadows beyond the log, one of the robotic hunters skidded to a halt, sensors glowing red. The cub hissed sharply, a sound that made even hardened cadets flinch. The robot hesitated. Its movement faltered, almost as if it didn't expect the animal's boldness. Then the cub leapt onto the machine, claws scraping metal, snarling with precision. Sparks flew as it disengaged wiring, halting the robot completely. The cadets stared in shock. "Did it just disable that thing?" Varn asked, disbelief written across his face. Rylan smiled faintly, brushing dirt from his uniform. "It's not mindless. It reacts. It adapts. It thinks." Another robot appeared at the edge of the clearing, sensors sweeping rapidly. The cub crouched low, ready, then turned to Rylan. He nodded once and the cub leapt, darting into the shadows, disappearing. Seconds later, it returned with a branch in its mouth, dropping it before the cadets. It growled sharply, signaling them to move. "He's communicating with us," Tessa said, awe in her voice. "It's giving directions like a guide." The cadets followed, hearts still racing. Every step reinforced a growing realization. This was not an ordinary predator, and Rylan's calm, fearless demeanor wasn't luck. Together, human and beast moved like a single unit, anticipating threats, dodging dangers the cadets couldn't even see. By the time they reached a small hidden canyon that offered temporary safety, the group was exhausted. Breathing heavily, Varn finally spoke. I've never seen anything like this, and I've trained in worse. He looked at Rylan. How do you do it? Rylan crouched beside the cub, which pressed against him, tail twitching in contentment. I listen. I watch. Fear doesn't guide me, curiosity does. And this one, it listens back. The cadets watched, awe and fear mixing. For the first time they felt something deeper than survival, understanding. The forest wasn't just a threat, it was alive, intelligent in ways they couldn't yet grasp. And the cub, small and ferocious, was their first teacher. The twin suns dipped further, shadows stretching across the canyon floor. In the distance, the faint whir of more robotic patrols reminded them danger was never far. But for now, human and predator cub had proven a simple truth. Together they could see, react, and survive where logic alone might fail. The cub growled once, softly, almost like a promise. Rylan laughed quietly. You're smarter than I imagined. And for the cadets, that moment left a single, burning thought. Nothing on this planet was ordinary, and nothing would ever be the same again. The cadets were still catching their breath as they crept along the narrow ridge above a jagged valley. The air smelled metallic, sharp, and heavy. Shadows clung to the rocks like living things. The cub stayed close to Rylan's side, ears twitching, eyes scanning every movement in the darkness. The twin suns had dipped completely, leaving a twilight that painted everything in gray and black. I don't like this, muttered Tessa, her hand hovering over her weapon. It's too quiet. Rylan nodded slightly, his gaze fixed on the twisting canyon below. Quiet means danger, he said softly. Stay alert but don't panic. Follow the cub's lead. The cub paused suddenly, tail stiff, low growl rumbling through its chest. Its head turned toward a cluster of boulders below. Something's coming, Rylan said, crouching behind a rock. The cadets stiffened, holding their breaths. From the shadows, shapes emerged, more than they could count at first. Sleek, black creatures, larger than the cub, with limbs that bent in ways that made them look unnatural. Their glowing eyes locked on the cadets, and a collective hiss echoed through the valley. They're hunting, Varn whispered, voice tense. Get ready. The creatures moved quickly, silent but precise. The cadets raised their weapons, but before anyone could fire, the ground beneath them trembled. Rocks tumbled down the ridge, sending a cascade of noise into the valley. The creatures hesitated, but the cub leapt forward fearlessly, growling, hissing, and snapping at them with ferocious precision. Its small body darted between their legs, confusing them, forcing a pause in their attack. Move. Follow me. Rylan shouted, sprinting along the ridge. The cadets scrambled after him, sliding over loose stones, trying to keep up. The cub led the way, darting ahead, disappearing and reappearing like a shadow. One cadet, Jalen, stumbled, his foot caught in a crevice. He fell hard, a sharp rock cutting into his shoulder. I can't, he gasped, panic rising. Grab my hand. Rylan yelled. Without hesitation, the cub leapt toward the cadet, hissing and nudging him upright. Its teeth bared in warning, and the attacking creatures hesitated. Jalen scrambled to his feet, blood running down his arm, adrenaline fueling him. Thanks. I don't know how it, Jalen started, but Rylan didn't answer. He was scanning the valley below, spotting movement. The creatures were regrouping, closing in from different angles. The cadets realized they were surrounded, and fear gripped their hearts like a vice. Split. Find cover. Varn ordered, but his voice trembled. The cadets scattered, diving behind rocks, trying to find safe positions. The cub circled Rylan, growling low, deflecting any creature that tried to close in. Its speed and intelligence gave them an edge, but the numbers were overwhelming. Suddenly, one of the creatures lunged at Rylan from a lower ledge. The cub reacted instantly, leaping onto it midair, claws digging in. Sparks of energy flared as its attack disrupted the creature's balance, sending it tumbling into the darkness below. The cadets' mouths dropped open. How can it fight like that? Tessa whispered, eyes wide with awe. It's not just fighting, Rylan said, breathless. It's thinking, calculating. Another creature appeared above the ridge, sharp claws glinting. It swung down, aiming for Jalen. The cub darted between them again, slashing, growling, forcing it to back off. The cadets realized that the tiny predator was predicting attacks, anticipating moves like a seasoned warrior. Rylan motioned for them to follow. Careful, watch the shadows. Don't make sudden moves. As they navigated through jagged rocks, a metallic whirring filled the air. From behind a cliff, robotic drones hovered, scanning with red lights. The cadets froze again, fear gripping them. Robots, more? One hissed. They're coordinated with the creatures, Varn muttered, disbelief and frustration in his voice. It's an ambush. The cub hissed sharply, crouching low, and darted toward the drones, swiping at their sensors with surprising precision. Sparks flew and one drone crashed into a rock. Rylan grabbed the cadets, pulling them behind cover. Keep moving. Don't stop. The creatures adapted, flanking from different angles, forcing the cadets to split again. Every move was dangerous. Every breath could be their last. Yet, the cub remained unflinching, guiding, defending, and attacking in perfect synchrony with Rylan. Stay close. Rylan shouted, his eyes locked on a narrow path leading up the cliff. This way. We can make it. One by one they climbed, sliding over jagged stone, muscles burning. The creatures tried to block them, but the cub intercepted at every turn, hissing, snapping, and leaping with deadly accuracy. Its growls rang in cadets' ears, both terrifying and reassuring. At the top, the group paused, panting, hearts racing. The creatures below hissed, watching, but did not follow further. The drones lay shattered, smoldering in the valley. The cub circled Rylan, tail flicking, growling softly as if warning of more danger to come. Rylan, Tessa said, voice shaky. That was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's intelligent. Rylan crouched beside the cub, brushing dust from his uniform. It's more than instinct. It understands patterns, predicts moves, protects. Fear doesn't guide it, logic and loyalty do. The cadets exchanged glances, awe and disbelief mixing. They had survived an ambush that should have killed them, not through weapons or strategy, but because one human and one predator cub worked together, each anticipating threats the other couldn't see. The twin suns had fully set now, leaving the canyon in eerie moonlight. Shadows stretched long and the wind whispered over rocks. For the cadets, one truth burned clear. The forest was alive with danger, but the bond between human and beast was stronger than any ambush. The cub growled again, low and steady. Rylan smiled faintly, kneeling to scratch behind its ears. Good work. We survived because you chose to protect, not attack blindly. And in that moment, the cadets understood that survival was not just about courage, it was about trust, instincts, and the intelligence they had never expected from a small, ferocious predator. The night air was thick and heavy as the cadets made their way through a narrow gorge, the sounds of the forest muffled beneath the weight of tension. Their shadows stretched long under the glow of bioluminescent plants, and every step echoed in the silence. The cub stayed close to Rylan, muscles taut, ears flicking at every rustle. The cadets were exhausted but alive, thanks to the cub, but unease lingered like a shadow they could not shake. Jalen stumbled, wiping blood from his arm. I still can't believe we survived that ambush, he muttered. I thought we were done for. You still don't understand, Rylan said, voice low. Survival here isn't about reacting. It's about reading what's coming before it strikes. And our friend here, he said, glancing at the cub, reads better than any of us. The cub growled softly, tail flicking as if agreeing. Tessa's eyes darted nervously over the rocky walls. I get it, it's amazing. But something doesn't feel right. I can't shake it. Before anyone could reply, a sharp hiss echoed from behind them. The cadets froze, weapons raised. Emerging from the shadows was one of their own, Kale. His face was pale, eyes darting nervously. In his hands he clutched a small containment device, humming faintly with energy. Kale? Varn's voice was stern. What are you doing? Kale's hand shook. I can't take it anymore. This thing, is too dangerous. It's a predator. We could die at any moment. I'm taking it back. Command will handle it. Rylan stepped forward slowly. You're going to put the cub in that device? After everything it's done? His voice was calm but edged with steel. Do you even understand what it's capable of? Kale swallowed hard, his eyes flicking to the cub. The creature growled, low and threatening, muscles coiled, eyes blazing. I don't care, Kale spat. It's just an animal. It doesn't belong to anyone here. Tessa grabbed Kale's arm. You can't. You've seen what it can do. It saved all of us. Kale jerked away. I don't care about saving anyone. I'm taking it and ending this before it ends us. His voice cracked with fear and determination. The cub lunged suddenly, hissing and slashing at the device in Kale's hands. Sparks flew and Kale stumbled backward, letting out a startled cry. The cadets froze, unsure whether to intervene. Varn barked orders, but the chaos was immediate. You fool. Rylan shouted, diving to intercept Kale. You're going to get yourself killed. Kale swung the device in panic, hitting a nearby rock. The hum intensified, sending a pulse through the ground. The canyon trembled as if the forest itself had reacted to the betrayal. The cadets scrambled, trying to avoid falling debris, as the cub continued to circle Kale, growling, snapping, and forcing him backward. I didn't mean, Kale stammered, fear overtaking him. You meant exactly this, Rylan said, grabbing Kale's shoulder. You let fear control you instead of thinking. That's why we're alive and why the cub trusts me, not you. The cub's growls rose in intensity, sharp and protective. Kale froze, realizing he was cornered. His eyes darted from Rylan to the predator, back to the canyon walls. Every instinct told him to flee, but the cub's stance and low hiss pinned him where he stood. Tessa stepped forward cautiously. Kale, stop. Just step back. It doesn't want to hurt you, but it won't let you harm it either. Kale hesitated, trembling, his mind racing. Finally, with a shout of frustration, he dropped the containment device. Sparks shot into the canyon air, and the device skidded across the rocks, silent now. The cub sniffed it cautiously, then backed away, still alert but no longer aggressive. Varn exhaled, running a hand down his face. That could have gone worse. Rylan crouched beside the cub, stroking its fur. It knows who acts with trust and who acts with fear. You just proved it again. Kale's shoulders slumped, guilt and shame washing over him. I thought I was helping. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking about yourself, Rylan said firmly, eyes locked on him. And in this place, selfishness can get people killed. The canyon was silent again, save for the cub's low growls and the faint rush of wind. The cadets glanced at one another, realizing the forest tested more than strength or skill. It tested loyalty, courage, and character. Betrayal could come from the shadows, but it could also come from within. The cub moved closer to Rylan, pressing against him, tail flicking like a warning signal. Its eyes never left Kale, never letting him forget the consequences of fear-driven choices. Tessa whispered almost to herself, "It's smarter than we are. Smarter than any of us." Rylan nodded. Intelligence isn't just about knowing things. It's about understanding, reacting, and protecting those who deserve it. That's why it's alive and free, and why we're still alive too. Kale swallowed, staring at the cub, then at Rylan. I'll follow. I understand now. His voice was small, uncertain, but honest. The cadets gathered their composure, glancing at the shadowy canyon around them. The forest seemed calmer now, as if acknowledging the resolution, but the danger was far from gone. The cub growled softly, a low, protective rumble that echoed in the rocks. It was a reminder that trust, once broken, had consequences, and that fear alone could never guide survival. Rylan crouched beside it again. We move forward as one, he said quietly. Together. Fear has no place in this fight. And for the cadets, one hard truth settled in their minds. Betrayal could come from within, and survival depended not only on skill and instinct, but on loyalty, courage, and the bonds they had yet to fully understand. The first light of the twin suns pierced the jagged canyon walls, casting sharp streaks of gold across the rocky floor. The cadets moved slowly, exhaustion heavy in their limbs, yet tension crackled in the air like electricity. Every sound, the whisper of wind, the distant crash of falling rocks, set their nerves on edge. The cub stayed at Rylan's side, muscles coiled, eyes flicking in every direction, alert to threats the humans could not see. We need to find higher ground, Rylan said quietly. From there we can see the path ahead, and any dangers approaching. Varn nodded, though his expression betrayed lingering doubt. I hope the cub can keep up. The terrain ahead isn't forgiving. The canyon narrowed abruptly, forcing them onto a rocky ledge. Below, shadows moved, dozens of small, fast creatures, skittering with unnatural speed and agility. The cadets froze, realizing too late that the canyon floor was swarming. Panic threatened to rise, but the cub growled low, a protective rumble that seemed to calm the tension. Stay calm, Rylan whispered. Follow the cub. Don't stop. The cub darted forward first, weaving between jagged rocks and leaping over gaps with unerring precision. The cadets followed, hearts hammering, bodies strained. The creatures below lunged upward, but the cub intercepted each attack with startling agility, hissing and snapping with perfect timing. Sparks flew as claws met stone, and every cadet felt the raw intensity of the predator's focus. Unbelievable, Tessa whispered, nearly out of breath. It's like it knows what's coming before we even see it. Rylan didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the ridge ahead, where a sheer cliff rose into the morning light. He motioned for the cadets to follow, moving with calm authority despite the chaos. Suddenly the ledge beneath them trembled. One of the canyon walls gave way, sending a cascade of rocks and debris hurtling down. The cadets screamed, diving for cover. Jalen slipped, claws scraping against stone as he struggled to stay upright. The cub leapt to his side instantly, pressing against him, nudging him to safety, growling sharply at the rocks above. "You saved me again," Jalen shouted, chest heaving. I thought I was done for." The cub's growl was soft, almost like a warning, not pride. Rylan smiled faintly. "It doesn't fight for recognition. It fights because it must, and it trusts you to survive because you follow it." As they climbed higher, the creatures from below regrouped, but the cub's strategy kept them at bay. It leapt onto overhangs, circling enemies, cutting off attacks with calculated precision. The cadets watched, awestruck, as it moved with intelligence they could barely comprehend. "Rylan," Tessa said, voice shaking with exhaustion and amazement. "How is it so smart? It's not just instinct." Rylan glanced down at the cub, brushing dust from its sleek black fur. "It understands patterns, threats, and loyalty. Fear doesn't control it. Only awareness and trust." They reached the cliff's edge, overlooking a vast plateau bathed in golden sunlight. The creatures below hesitated, sensing the height and the open space. The cub growled, warning them to retreat. Then a mechanical whir echoed from the plateau. Robotic drones hovered above, their red sensors scanning. The cadets froze. They were exposed, vulnerable, and the plateau offered no cover. Rylan clenched his jaw. "No turning back. We go forward, together." The cub moved first, darting between rocks and low walls, drawing the drone's attention. Its speed and precision disrupted their targeting systems, sending one drone crashing into a boulder. Sparks rained down as the other drones struggled to adjust. "Move. Now!" Rylan shouted. The cadets sprinted across the plateau, hearts racing, muscles burning. The cub stayed ahead, guiding, protecting, and predicting every threat. One drone fired, energy bolts sparking against the rocky ground, but the cub's swift maneuvers kept the cadets safe. Jalen shouted, "This is insane. How can it?" The cub growled sharply, cutting him off as if reminding them words were useless in survival. They reached the far edge of the plateau, a narrow path leading into a canyon lined with glowing flora. The cadets hesitated, staring at the glowing abyss, fear gripping their chests. Rylan stepped forward, calm and resolute. "Follow me. Trust the cub. Trust yourselves." The cub leapt ahead, landing lightly on a stone bridge spanning the glowing canyon. Rylan followed, cadets close behind. The creatures and drones below hesitated, unable to navigate the terrain as efficiently. The cub paused, turning to glance at the group, growling softly, a signal to continue. With careful steps, the cadets crossed. Every heart pounded, every breath caught in their throats. When they reached solid ground on the other side, relief washed over them. The cub pressed against Rylan, tail flicking, eyes alert even now. Varn exhaled, finally allowing himself a small smile. "I've trained in some of the deadliest terrains in the galaxy, but I've never seen anything like that, human and predator working as one." Tessa nodded, awe and exhaustion mixing. "It's incredible. I thought we were done for, but somehow we survived." Rylan crouched beside the cub, scratching behind its ears. "Courage isn't the absence of fear," he said quietly. "It's seeing danger, understanding it, and moving forward anyway. Fear doesn't control us, trust does. Trust in each other, and trust in those willing to protect." The cadets watched, realization dawning. The predator cub was more than a guardian. It was a teacher, showing them that survival depended on intelligence, courage, and bonds stronger than instinct alone. As the twin suns rose fully, painting the canyon in gold, the cadets understood the truth. No matter how dangerous the world, human ingenuity, courage, and the bond with the cub could overcome any threat. They had risen beyond fear, together, and nothing would ever be the same again. The cub growled once more, low and steady, a promise, a warning, and a declaration. Rylan laughed softly. "You've done it again, little one. Let's see what else this world has in store." The cadets followed, hearts racing, eyes wide, ready for whatever awaited them next. The predator cub led the way, fearless, intelligent, and unstoppable.